Welcome to the Cheat Code, where you will get an urban approach into financial education. Today is Wallstreet Wednesday. I'm Ralphie Wallstreet, and we are here to give you all your stock tips, all your stock information, anything that'll help upgrade your portfolio to better heights. Today we want to get into Amazon. We want to get into the whole election in Georgia. So let's get started. Amazon just bought 11 767 Boeing jets, I believe 11 between Boeing and WestJet, to help their logistics. Now, me as an investor in Amazon, I think that's amazing news. Let me tell you why. Because Amazon having their own logistics and planes means they don't have to deal with third parties anymore. So you got to think about it like there's no need for FedEx, there's no need for UPS and all those other delivery people they have to deal with. If they own their own planes, their own delivery trucks and vans and 18-wheelers, what do they need you for? Exactly. So I'm hoping by maybe 2022, 2023, Amazon stock should be about 4,000 or 5,000. 6,000 maybe, I think, due to what they're trying to do to upgrade themselves to be more of a independent contractor versus having to deal with the postal service, UPS and FedEx and all the other companies. They could do it all themselves. So I guarantee this is just the start of them buying transportation. And they may even try to buy a whole company like UPS or FedEx, but they may see the prices being too high because everyone needs something delivered now. So FedEx and UPS are probably looking at, if they buy us, it's gonna cost them. It ain't gonna cost them a little bit. It ain't gonna cost them a lot, but it's gonna cost them. So I'm pretty confident they figure out whether to just use their own planes and things to cut that cost in general altogether and as soon as possible. So you got to take a look at Amazon. If you aren't owning it yet, whether a fractional share or a full share, or an index fund or ETF that involves Amazon, get into it, because I believe Amazon is the future of retail. And if you notice, Amazon does not own one brick store, and they're already at 3,300 a share. So it's only going to grow because people aren't going to be shopping in malls that much more. You can already tell the way the convenience of everything getting delivered. I could just see it. It's going to happen. A lot of stores this year, due to the pandemic, have went bankrupt. So, and I see their business model isn't working for the future, so they haven't pivoted fast enough. Something like Sears, that company didn't really want to pivot to online. They want to stay in malls. Now, look, stores are closing like every 20 minutes for Sears. So, if you don't get with the times, you're gonna get lost. And Amazon is the times. So definitely keep an eye on your Amazon stock. Absolutely. You wouldn't believe this, but Google I wouldn't say Google, but Google's employees are trying to start a union. And what I know about unions are they're very, very fierce. Like once you start a union at a company, the company's kind of not hands tied, but they can't do a lot without the union's approval also. So you got to think about, like, the NBA has a players union, NFL has a players union, construction workers have players unions, and a lot of deals these companies try to pull, they can't do it without the union's approval. So the union wants to be started by the workers due to the fact there's few people in power. There's like 3 people that control everything, and they're not feeling that. So basically, if they want to fire somebody, they can. Now, when unions are in play, it's a lot harder to fire someone. So the Google employees feel like that's definitely a safe net for them. And they also feel that new employees should have the same benefits as employees that's been there a while. And, that makes sense. You know how most jobs are. After 90 days or 6 months or 9 months, your benefits kick in. That's not asking for much, Google. I think that makes sense. It should be fair across the board. Google's a great company to work for. Google's a great stock. They're almost at about 1,400 a share. Search engines, everything goes through Google. It's a verb now. So Google stock is something you definitely want to look into as well. I see the growth in them. They're trying to build a smart car. They already have Google phones, and the search engine is the number one searched platform in probably almost the world. So Google is a great stock, and I hope they get this solved peacefully, because a union is not a bad thing. It's not a great thing. It's just something that evens the playing field. So I hope definitely that works out very well for them, because I don't know, Google's cool. Silicon Valley is a great place to work, and Google is like one of the top shops in Silicon Valley. So you definitely want to get a look into that. What else did I want to get into? Oh, the Georgia runoff for senator and how that affects the markets. A lot of people are watching this. It's coming up on the news heavy. Two seats in the Senate are open. So they're trying to either make it Republican, because we have the House already. House of Representatives are controlled by Democrats. The Senate in Congress, I believe it's up in the air. It can either end up 50-50, or Democrats can control the House, or Republicans can control the House. These two seats make the difference. So as of now, one seat has been given to the Democrats, and the other seat hasn't been announced yet. But basically, when you think of this Senate race and how it affects the presidential election and your stocks, so anything passed, like law-wise, like the president wants to pass a law, it has to go through Congress, and the House of Representatives has to go through the House. So for it to be passed into law, they have to approve unanimously. Now, if the majority of the House is Democrat, a lot of laws like energy renewal, the stimulus check talk, what else will go? The $2,000, the stimulus $2,000, the talks of that, and also the new energy with electric cars and everything, how we can pivot from oil to renewable energies. And Democrats are all for that. Republicans are old school. They want oil. They want to keep the stimulus at $600. They're pretty confident if Republicans win, they want to basically do to Biden with the House did to Obama. So anything he tried to pass, they wiped it out. So the Republicans want to do that with Joe Biden. And how will that affect your stocks is, if Democrats win, a lot of stocks may go up. You may want to pay attention to the crypto. You may want to pay attention to the energy stocks. You may want to pay attention to just your stocks in general, because if you get a $2,000, the whole country gets a $2,000 stimulus, people are going to buy stocks. So that means markets will go up. The economy will go up. Now, I'm not saying the Republicans with their $600, that won't happen, but I believe it won't happen as fast. So you definitely want to pay attention to that as well, because the markets and the governments kind of work together, not side by side, but I'm pretty sure they cross paths in the hallway often. So you definitely want to keep an eye on the politics as well as the markets, because they do run hand in hand sometimes. And that's all about the Georgia issue. What else do we have on the menu? Bitcoin hits 35,000. All right, y'all playing games. You got to think, the institutional investors are thinking it might hit 140,000. If y'all haven't even invested, I watched Shark Tank a lot. And Mr. Wonderful, he said, I really don't believe in crypto, but I don't want to miss the boat. So what I did was drop $100 on Bitcoin, and I just watch it like a game. And that's Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, and he's worth almost $1 billion. So you got to think, even if you're not fully invested in crypto, you don't want to miss the boat. It could become the gold rush. You never know. That crypto is almost equivalent to gold, as in holding a value. So you definitely want to keep an eye on how that's working. Yes, in 2017, it jumped to 19 and went to 5. I don't see that happening now. Before, it's only a couple of whales. They call them whales because they hold the most coins of crypto. A lot of people are retail investors and own maybe a coin here and there. No, these big institutions and whales buy millions of coins at once. So if they sell their coins, they'll drop a little bit. So if all of them got together and said, you know what, let's just sell this and just drop this. So all the whales can get together and sell all their coins. It could drop, but I don't see that happening the way it's being accepted worldwide. Like, you can be able to go into a lot of stores now and use your crypto, and institutions are picking up on that too, saying it'll reach 140,000. So you got to think, right now it's at 34, hitting 35. If you put $50 or $100 in there and it reaches 140,000, you've made some profits. Like, I did the $100 thing before even Mr. Wonderful did. I thought that was pretty cool how we think almost the same, because I'm not really fully into crypto myself, but I don't want to miss the boat. So I have a little bit invested in crypto, a little bit invested in Ethereum. I even dropped like $2 in the Dogecoin. It's small money, so we can see how far it can go. I'm already up 100% on Ethereum and Bitcoin from just adding that $100 a piece. So imagine if it keeps going. You will see. You never know. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that as well. If it's not in your portfolio, add fractional shares. You could do fractional shares of Amazon. You could do fractional shares of crypto. You could do on some of these platforms fractional shares. I know Charles Schwab has $5 fractional shares. Robinhood has any price. Like, you can buy $2 worth of Amazon if you really wanted to. So you got to think. You want to cover your bases in a safe way where you're not putting too much money into something you don't really believe in. You want to put a little bit in it because I believe in that. You can either lose a little or win a lot. Lose a little bit of money or win a lot of money. I like those odds because it's not too much of a one or the other. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that for the crypto. My son called it. I think it's really funny how, like, I've been teaching him investing since maybe he was probably about 10 years old, and he's only getting better. And he hunted me down like, Dad, I want Sony stock, because he has his own portfolio. I want Sony. I'm like, okay. I followed them. Sony's not horrible. They own movie companies, record companies, a video game console. They're made in China, and Chinese people don't play with technology. They're very intelligent people. So Sony, when we bought it, it was about 60, $70. It's now at $102. So my son sees the writing on the wall. Pay attention. Like, technology is only growing. Like, you got to think the times over the last maybe 50 years, technology has evolved tenfold. It's so different. Like, over the last 30, 40 years, air conditioners were invented. I'd say maybe over the last 100 years, air conditioners were invented. And there was a lot of things that just came to fruition. And then, so over the next maybe 100 years, watch how we evolve with technology, because it's always changing. You know, I think back in the 40s, I read a lot. So back in the 40s, there was a guy, and the owner of the patent office says, we should close the patent office. We've invented all that we can invent. Oh boy, was he wrong. We invented so much since the 40s, so it's only going to happen. It's only going to evolve. So pay attention to these tech stocks, these growth stocks. It's inevitable with growth, because the brain always wants to evolve, always wants to do better, and always learn better. So keep an eye. My son said Sony. Check out your Sony. If you ain't got it, take a look into it. Study their blueprints of their payment and their money, how they do their debt, how they do their revenue streams, how are they paying for their assets within the company, etc. You really want to break down, when you look into companies, how they tick. Like, you really want to dig in. Last name's Diggs. So you definitely want to dig in to a company when you're thinking about purchasing them as part of your portfolio. It's a no-brainer idea. Keep an eye, like, because there's always information on the markets popping up all over the place. Like they showed on the regular channel, local news, how your money's doing. So you definitely want to get involved if you're not involved. If you don't have a lot of money to put into the market, still you can invest on a budget. I have a lot of different tips and tricks to help. So if you need any ideas or any type of guidance, please reach out. I'm happy to help either way. Another thing I wanted to get into was China. let's keep an eye on these Chinese stocks. America's beefing again with China. This could be the little bit of the beginning to a Cold War, but I don't want to say Cold War because that's really extreme. I don't think we'll get to that. There's too much money on the table, but they talked earlier in the year of last year about delisting Chinese stocks because they believe that they are affecting our country's defense system and things like that by getting into our markets and getting their products and services on our country. So they didn't like that in government, so they wanted to delist all these Chinese stocks, and that's a little messed up because I like Alibaba and JD.com and Neo. So I'm hoping this doesn't happen. But if you own any of these stocks, you definitely want to pay attention to this. They just said like a little earlier ago that the delisting might not happen. But then again, they're making a U-turn saying it may happen. So you definitely want to keep an eye on your overseas Chinese stocks, because if you own them and then they get delisted, it really doesn't count. Like, you'll get your money back, but the growth you wanted to get, you can't, because this is not traded on these markets. You'd have to go to a Chinese market to buy these stocks. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that as well. Like, it's very important to not only diversify within the country, but you definitely want to try worldly diversifications as well, from China to Brazil to Mexico. All these different countries have their own industries as well as our industries coming into their countries. So you want to pay attention globally versus domestically. It only makes sense, because if you're putting all your eggs in one basket and that basket goes to shit, you don't get much. So you definitely want to pay attention that way as well. I always give advice on the different stock tips and the different things that are happening within the week or from the last Wednesday I posted on. But I want to start also giving brief lessons in how to do the market or pick the market. So I want to start today with just asset allocations and age, because a lot of people don't understand that at different periods in your life, you should invest differently. So let me break it down. By the age of 45 and younger, you should have about 90% stocks and 10% bonds. And the reason being is, at a younger age, you can afford to make mistakes. You can afford to throw $3,000 on some stocks and blow it, because at a younger age, you still have more life left in you to accumulate that money over again. So you definitely want to get into investing, learn as much as you can. Try to get in contact with people like me. Even if it's not me, learn investing, because the younger you are, the more compound interest you can get. And compound interest is the ninth wonder in the world, from the likes of Albert Einstein. He believed that it was one of the best financial inventions ever made. So you definitely want to get into that. Like, why miss the boat? So, like, if you're 18 and you buy Apple now, who knows what Apple will be by the time you're 40? It could be worth $1 million a share. You never know. But you definitely want to start investing young as possible so you can become seasoned at an older age. Like, I wish I started investing at 18, 19 years old. Can you imagine me now? Like, I'm pretty good now, but if I started even younger and really took it serious, I'd probably be an official stockbroker at a capital management firm. Guaranteed. Because by this time, I would know, like, information will come nothing to me. It'll be second nature to dissect the market. Like Warren Buffett understanding the market at 11 years old. That's why I teach the kids so early, and I do like teach your kids financial education. You're like 21, get into financial education, because it's something that wasn't taught at my high school, and it wasn't taught at, I'm sure, your parents' high schools or anything like that. So financial education is now becoming popular, and that is a good thing, because I'm created this podcast, The Cheat Code, to change the culture. So that's my plan going forward, to help future generations inherit a better world. That's simple. So let's get back into this asset allocation by age. So let's say you're 45 to 55. So you won't invest like you did when you were 30. So you would more or less be like an 80% stocks, 20% bonds. So you see the allocation starting to change. Like, as you age, you should be thinking more defensively versus, I could try this, I'll make it back. You may not, because your life expectancy decreases the older you get. So you definitely want to pay attention to that as well. So if you're in your 45 to 55 range, 80% stocks, 20% bonds. And bonds are defensive investments because they really don't fluctuate too much, because once you buy a bond and that price is that price, it doesn't change. There are new bonds that come out after it with different prices, but the one you paid for stays the same. So you definitely want to get into that if you're an older gentleman or ma'am or lady. Yeah, definitely want to look into that as well. For a person 55 to 65, they would more likely invest 60% stocks to 30% bonds, or 60-70% stocks, 30% bonds, because you're getting older. You want to be able to save more money. You're getting closer to retirement. So you want to be able to have more money for your retirement, because when you get older, life don't stop. It still goes on. That Social Security checks can't be it. Like, that's the thing. A lot of people these days are relying on Social Security. Don't do that, because 20 years from now, there may not even be a Social Security. So you definitely want to have your money in different assets and investments to make up what you may lose or may not have the same amount you thought of. So you definitely want to keep that in mind when you're investing for that age in your life. The last one I wanted to get into, no, there's two more, 65 to 75. Now you notice the older you get, you're getting more defensive, and a 65-year-old would invest 50% stocks, maybe 5 to 10% real estate, and 20% to 35% bonds. So you see, the older you get, it's decreasing. Your stock value is decreasing because the stock market is very volatile. And at a 65-year-old, you do not want to wake up and your money's gone. So you definitely want to decrease your levels in the market the older you get. So 65 to 75 would be 50% stocks. So you notice the pie is getting smaller. The pie is getting a whole lot smaller. So the last person I want to get into is 75 and older. Now, you're 75 years old. You're up there. I think you've lived 3/4 of your life. That's amazing. So now you're retired, and now you want to be able to still invest but not lose your money, because you want to, you never know. 75, the average person dies around 80, 90 years old. So you're getting there. You're getting to that finish line. So 75, you want to do 35%, 35% bonds, 30% real estate, and 35% stocks. So you kind of want to decrease your stock value to under 40%. Because you're 75, you're either retired or you're about to retire, and you still want to be involved in the market, but you don't want to be involved to the point you lose all your money. So you want to allocate it into real estate, because real estate never gets old. The census and population grows by the second. So real estate's definitely a good place to park your money as investing. And also in bonds. See, bonds and real estate, all these things can be passed down as well. So if you happen to die at 76, it's okay. Your beneficiaries are taken care of. And you can also set up a trust to whereas you can drip the money out of the trust versus just drop it all to a kid or something. You could and keep it still investing in bonds, in stocks. Your trust fund can do amazing things. A lot of people, or a lot of urban folks, don't realize how much a will matters and how much a trust and estate matters, but it saves you time in court. Like, once your power of attorney or lawyer reads your will and your estate, that's it. There's no going to court. There's no nothing. It was already set up. And if it continues to have to do something, like I'm sure everyone's watching Power, if you've seen his son, the family couldn't touch the money unless he graduated with a high GPA. Now, you can add stipulations to your trust, so it only makes sense. So think about that as well. It's definitely worth it to really get into investing some way, shape, or form in some time in your life, whether it's early by 10, 11, or it's late by 60. So if you're starting at a 50-year-old, you already know there's a type of kind of like blueprint to your age on how to invest. So like I said, if you don't want to get in touch with me, get in touch with somebody, no matter the age, so you don't miss the boat. And this was another Wall Street Wednesday. We appreciate you listening. Check out the new merchandise from THC Clothing. We got hats, we got new shirts. Because I know lately I've been wearing like the same 3 hoodies and the same polo shirts. No, we have more. I just haven't ordered. I kind of just want everybody else to buy the things more than I do, but I gotta promote as much as everyone else. So I purchase my clothes as much as everyone else do. THCclothing.store. Look us up. We're at Instagram at The Happy Crowd Clothing. Look us up. And thank you and appreciate you for listening, subscribing, liking any of our podcasts or our video blogs, anything like that. We appreciate it. Thank you from the Cheat Code. Have a great day.